Hi, and welcome to another Mum's the Word interviews. Can't even remember, sign of the times. And I'm joined today by Emma, who is also a contributor to my book and books now. So the Mum's the Word series, let's big it up. So my Mum's the Word books. Emma is here, Mum, and I'll let you explain your ages of your little darlings.
I have Dylan, who is 10. And then we had Eilys, who would be 8 in June, but she passed away just after her first birthday. And then we have Evan, who is 5, and Caris, who is 3.
Oh gosh, that's flown, hasn't it? 3.
I know. It's
Oh,
I keep looking at it. She's a really tall 3-year-old as well. So I'm like, where's the baby gone?
oh, yeah, and that is an element of one of the chapters of the book. I've called it. Well, obviously they're all named after quotes at Mary Poppins, but I've called it the kind of bit in the middle where everything just goes so fast, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
blink of an eye that they're grown up or going to preschool or going to school or leaving school.
And I think because she's technically, I'd say, like a COVID baby. She was born in the October before, but like no one met her. Like so many people in my family haven't met her because we were in lockdown and
Yeah.
she was really tiny. But I think that sort of made things feel faster. I don't know. It's such a weird one. It's such a weird time to be a parent, but
yeah, definitely.
you have to just get through it, don't you?
And do they get on as siblings then? So what, 10? Because quite an age group there, isn't there? An age difference in some.
Yeah. Dylan's brilliant. He is an excellent big brother. He has always been an excellent big brother. He is very nurturing. He's very kind. Obviously, he has his moments. He's not perfect, but so he's always, like, when they were babies, he loved them and would help and was just lovely. Evan, I thought, was going to be more problematic with Caris when she came along, but actually he largely quite ignored her, but he was they do get on quite nicely, him and Caris, most of the time, but there's obviously that niggling, he touched this, she's done this, they've got my toy, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, Evan gets on well with his big brother. Obviously a bit of hero worship going on and wants to do everything he wants to do. Why can't I play Roblox? Because you're 5.
Yeah.
Why can't I do this? Because you're 5. But mostly they get on quite well. Mostly.
And she's Caris at preschool now then? Is it preschool or still nursery?
Yeah. Caris is at nursery, well, preschool, nursery. She's been going since October and she likes it. She's, when you're not sure that they're 100% sold on the idea, but she seems to be doing all right. So it's just the mum guilt kicks in and you're like, oh, am I doing the right thing?
And actually that's one of my things in the book as well, just not that I have got over mum guilt, but I've done some top tips around mum guilt, and you've gone back to work, and one thing that I always think about with you is the very little family support, because you're not from here originally, are you, locally?
No, I'm not from here originally. My mum and dad have moved up to Congleton just before Caris was born, so I've got a bit more support now, but my in-laws are always very good as well. They do live further away, but they do come up. But yeah, going back to work, that was like the first week, because I've recently gone back to work, and my first day I had a phone call from school saying that Caris had been sick and that I needed to go and pick her up. So that was a bit of a scrabble, but you don't get any points back for that, do you? Like, even though you've turned your whole life upside down just so you can stay at work, there's no like sticker at the end of the day. Well done for sorting that out and causing no problems. It is what it is, and you just sort of have to go with it. Thankfully my parents just whipped her away for a few days and dealt with the vomit.
Yeah, and it is that angst though, isn't it? It's like that phone call. I know sometimes I've seen it and I'm like, I know that number, but then straight away you're like, hello, no, it's nothing, they're fine. Normally in my cases, It was the deadline for the trip yesterday.
Yeah.
I have endless of them phone calls. I'm good with scouts and thing. I think I'm more scared of the leader there.
Yeah.
Endlessly forgetting school trips all the time.
Oh,
But I think
no.
it's because I have to log on with something about putting the money in an envelope. I can cope with that.
Mm. Yeah, I think I could probably cope with that a bit better. But the whole logging on, and especially with multiple children, you have to do things like 3 times for like children in need or
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be great when Dylan's at high school.
Will you have all 3 of them at the same school for 1 year or not?
They're all there at the moment because the preschool's attached to the school, so they're all at the same place at the moment. So we've got another year of that, and then whatever high school, and that's another thing.
Yeah.
Is that a chapter in
Yeah.
the book? Because that is something I need lots of advice about.
Yeah, I think I had all 3 of mine in the one school for 1 year, and I loved that. Mine's more now just the next phase that I'm writing at the moment, and it's not empty nest by any means because my youngest is still only 10, but there's still things that we don't do anymore that I really, really miss.
Yeah.
I love them not school trips, sorry, that when it was school holidays and all the nice exciting days that they're not
Yeah.
interested in anymore.
Oh, you see, that's going to break my heart when that happens.
Mm.
But I mean, there's lots of things that you do with the littler ones that you sort of start missing, like daft stuff, like going to the rhyme time at the library. Like that
Yeah,
was always
yeah.
such a nice thing to do. And obviously, like Caris is, well, she's a bit too big for it now. She probably could go, but it's not really her thing. But I used to go week in with that, week out with Dylan, and that was such a big part of our week. But
Yeah, and what they think's magical, I've been taking my sister's little girl to see all the Julie Donaldson shows,
oh
and then they all rhyme, don't they? So for the rest of the day, we're saying it, and I love all that, love it, and I just think, oh my God, there'll be a day I'll just be that one adult still there, still there on my own. I know this one.
I don't think there's any shame in that. I think you should just do it.
But
I
yes,
took Dylan to see the Harry Potter play, and that was just magical. His face throughout the whole thing was just like, oh, how have they done that?
Yeah.
And again, I thought I'd sort of lost that with him a bit because 10-year-olds are a bit too cool now.
Yeah.
And they know it all. But no, he was very amazed and astounded. So that was nice.
Yeah, and I think that they are those precious moments, aren't they? That, but also within that, particularly for me, the whole juggling of the childcare and the different shifts and things like that. So I look back on it now and think, oh, there were so many good times, but actually tainted with perhaps a little bit of the stress that had to be here, there, and everywhere at the same time, really.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of letting that the guilt go that maybe you can't be there for those things, but it's also nice for them to have grandparents to take them to things, or that their uncle takes them to things, and you've just got to sort of let that go. And I think that's quite a difficult thing to sort of get around in your head, especially since going back to work. There's been quite a few things going on at school, like come in and craft days, which I can't. They're always been on the days that I'm in work. There hasn't been one that's on one of my days off, which is really annoying. But I mean, Joe's been able to go to them, or my mum's been able to go to them, and it's sort of letting that control go a little bit and letting them enjoy it with other people, but still sucks.
Yeah, it really does, I think, definitely. But is there anything that stands out for you that you think you really struggled with when you first come out to be a mum, first become a mum?
Oh, where to start? Well, I had a very difficult breastfeeding time with Dylan. He lost a lot of weight. We ended up back in hospital. He had quite a bad lip tie, which wasn't diagnosed until he was over 2. Like his first dentist appointment, they were like, his lip tie is awful. And yeah, so we ended up back in hospital with him, and I've since been diagnosed with a condition called IGT, which is insufficient glandular tissue, which basically means that I don't have a full supply. No matter what I do, I'm never going to have a full supply of milk, which was really difficult to get your head around, because all you're told, well, all back then, all you were told was, back then 10 years ago, was, oh, it works for everybody, you just have to try harder. If you're not trying harder, then it's not going to work, blah blah blah. So yeah, that was a struggle, and ending up back in hospital with a tiny baby because they're basically starved, that comes with so much guilt, and it was just awful. But when we started combi feeding him, he started gaining weight, and he was a much happier baby. But that's something that I've had to deal with all of them. And yeah, there is support out there, and it's just finding the right support and finding, you know, somebody to be in your corner. And there's a lot of reading to do about upping your milk supply and stuff. But so there was that was fun. Obviously with Eilys being diagnosed with, she had a condition called SMA, or spinal muscular atrophy type 1, which is the most severe type, which has since got a cure and a treatment now, but she was born to before that was readily available. So yeah, with that, she started missing milestones when she was about 6 months old. Just before that, she started to try and roll, and then she stopped sort of trying, or she couldn't do it. And I had to go to the doctors a few times and the health visitor, and people just kept saying, oh, she's just not as doing things as quickly as Dylan did them. You have to sort of manage your expectations. But I was like, pretty sure there's something wrong here, because she was trying to do these things. So yeah, that's one that, you know when you just instinctively know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And everyone else is making you feel like you're a crazy person, because they're saying no, this is just you overreacting, or you're being irrational. So with her diagnosis did come a lot of, not I told you so, because obviously that's not what we wanted.
No.
But yeah, I felt like maybe you should listen to me a bit earlier. Maybe we could have.
And I definitely have wrote that in my book about mum's instinct. It's just something there, isn't it? You know your own child.
Yeah, you do know your own child. And I think, you know, that rightly or wrongly, some people within the medical profession do often sort of push that to one side, and you're made to feel like you are a bit crazy, or like overreacting.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously there's a middle ground, because there must be some people that do overreact and are, you know, overthinking things. But yeah, so, but after her diagnosis, we had another 6 months, a little bit over 6 months with her, before she passed away, because the condition made it sort of weakens your muscles. It's a bit like motor neuron disease, but sort of the baby version. So her muscles just gradually got weaker and weaker, to the point where like her lungs didn't work properly. So yeah, it was really rough, and trying to explain that to a 3-year-old as well is really tough. Yeah, so I mean, luckily we did have good people around us. We were in touch with what was Donna Louise and is now, is it Dougie Mack now? Have they taken over?
Yes. I didn't actually put the 2 and 2 together, but yeah.
So there was counsellors there that sort of talked us through how to talk things through with Dylan. But again, we hadn't had that conversation with him that what death was, or that she was going to die. So on the morning that she did die, we had to really think on our feet, which but when they say like children are really resilient, that's really true. They take on board you sort of take their lead with it. We answered any questions he had. We were honest all the time. We steered clear of saying anything like she fell asleep, or she's sleeping, or and you just sort of have to roll with it, really. I mean, for a few days all he said was we'd had a fish who died the week before, and all he'd say was, a fish died and then Eilys died. And so, which sort of helped us really, because there was no hiding from it at all. You know, obviously she was dead, and obviously we were coming to terms with that, but him, the way he just kept being so matter of fact about it, like it was just something that happens, yeah, sort of helped. I don't know, it was such a weird time, you know, looking back you just think, how on earth did I get through that? But you do.
And you've gone on to support, and you're very open about it, because it is such a unique experience for parents, isn't it? I know she won't mind me saying, Alison, a member of the team at Motherwell, she always says that mums are bonded and parents are bonded together when they've lost a child. She always says it's a club that nobody wants to be in.
Yes, it is the worst club to be in, but also you meet some really good people. Like I started a blog, which I have not kept up with, but I did blog for a good year and a half, maybe 2 years, and I've met people who've read it, and I've got a very good friend now whose daughter had the same condition, and so I've, not being too, you know, I'm so good at this, but she's gone on to have 2 healthy little girls, and some, like, because after we had Eilys and then we went on to have the Evan and Caris, you have to go through like genetic counselling, and when you find out you're pregnant you have to go, well, you don't have to, but you can go and have testing on the baby to see whether or not they have SMA or whether they're carriers, which was a shared experience that we both had to go through. So it was nice to be able to help her go through that. So yeah, it is a rubbish club, but it is sort of nice to help other people go through similar.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I've made lots of friends who have had different experiences, different conditions, or their children have like had sudden infant death syndrome. It's different experiences, but there's that shared, you know, awful thing that's happened to you that other people just can't relate to.
Definitely. And we met because you got in touch, didn't you? Do you remember years ago, because you were the ambassador?
Yes. Yeah. For Our Missing Piece. I think they've now folded, or they're not doing any things anymore, because I think with things like that, sometimes the emotion of a situation can, you know.
Yeah, and it was difficult. It has been difficult for charities during COVID as well.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
The energy that perhaps you would have had to keep into that. But again, you know, I think what always strikes me is your networks that you have, and you know so many different support agencies, and you want to reach out to others as well.
Yeah, and you know, some people don't feel like they can do that, and that's also fine. It, you know, everybody has to do and get through things however they get through things. But it's brilliant having organisations like yours out there that, you know, mums can contact and find support or be signposted to other support. Is so important. And even if it's just a friend on the end of the phone who's had something similar happen to them, it's, you know,
and I always say, you know, I know I've said this on my previous interview the other day, but the reason I set it up is it's the hardest bloody job I've ever done, and likely ever to do.
Absolutely.
Because there is always different. I'm finding that now, you know, my daughter's started the GCSEs this week. There's always different trends throughout, you know, different trials and tribulations as we go through motherhood, and that's the whole idea of the book, you know, the mothering journey, and for people to encourage other mums to be really honest about their emotions, because we're all really we can be quite private about how we're feeling with it, because actually sometimes it's just bloody tough.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that's definitely improved in the time that I've had children, is more people are saying, you know, the newborn bit is so difficult, you know. Newborns give you nothing. They just take. They want your sleep, they want your body, and a lot of the time you're recovering. I mean, after I had Caris, I had a C-section with Caris, and that was a whole different kettle of fish. That was a whole different thing that I hadn't had to deal with before. But again, luckily I had people mum friends who had C-sections and could give me advice and could tell me what not to do, and you know, this helps or this helps, or you know, and it's having those people in your life, that village of people that can talk you through things. Definitely. Even if it's advice you don't take, it's just nice to have somebody going, oh yeah, that bit is shit, isn't it? Or, oh, sometimes I cry when this has happened or that has happened, you know, you're not alone. And it's opening yourself up to those conversations and letting people in. And I think
that's a really good point, actually, that you've just said, that you don't have to take it, but it's a conversation starter, isn't it?
Yeah. And just having somebody to just say, oh, you know, oh yeah, I remember that bit, or oh, this helped me, and just knowing you're not alone. That's the main thing, isn't it? Just knowing that this is something that happens to other people too, or other people's children are struggling with this. Or I mean, we're in the thick of, with Dylan, like WhatsApp groups now, and that's a whole different kettle of fish that I've not had to deal with before. Their friendships start changing as they get into like year 5, year 6. I'm guessing it'll continue. And it's that evolution of, how do you deal with this now? And also like your children are, you've got quite an age range as well, haven't you? So you have to be dealing with what the 10-year-old's up to and dealing with what the 16-year-old's up to, and trying to, you know, different skills.
And like you say, to remind the 10-year-old that he does need to go bed earlier because he's not 14 and 15. So it is that, isn't it, as well, trying to treat them all equal, but in level line with how old they are as well.
I mean, Evan's very, if you give him a limit for something, like he really wants to play Roblox, and like, you're not old enough for that yet. No. And he's like, well, when will I be old enough? And he's literally counting down the days until he's 7, which is an age I just plucked out of my head. How long until I'm 7 now?
You've got to keep to that now.
Yeah, stop wishing your life away. Dylan was the same with chewing gum. I said he could have chewing gum when he was 10 for years. How many years until I'm 10? It's just you got to really remember what you said.
yeah, definitely, because that's the thing they'll always remember.
Do you remember this time that year that you said this? Like, no.
So I'm asking everybody the same questions, and the first question is, what advice did you get that always sticks for you as a mum?
This will pass. Like, whatever stage it is, it will pass. And once it's passed, you'll probably miss it.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Yeah,
because everything does. Like the Poonamis, they pass. They're not a forever thing. And then you do get a bit nostalgic for them. You're like, well, maybe not the Poonamis, but
yeah.
It will.
Second question that I'm asking everybody is, because I still know mine, that moment you think, oh my life, I'm a mum now.
It's funny when I'd ask my mum about having me, and like and she'd always say, oh, when we brought you home, me and your dad you were in like a carry cot thing, we put you in the living room, we both just looked at you and we were like, what do we do? Like, what do we do now? And I remember it so well, bringing Dylan home and just putting him in the living room. Well, no, in fact, I think before I'd even got home, I was just like, is somebody gonna like check that I'm a proper grown-up, that I'm allowed to take this small human home? Like, no one checked. No, they just let me go home with him.
You looked all right.
And that was it. He's mine, and you have to look after him. And it was that sudden, like, oh my God, this is a massive responsibility. I don't think I'd fully, obviously I'd understood that it was a massive responsibility, but you know, suddenly it all became very real.
Yeah.
A tiny human that needs you for everything.
Lovely in one way, overwhelming in so many others.
Absolutely. And there's so many things you just think, I don't know how to do that. Where's the handbook? Because there isn't one.
Yeah. I remember that, the feeding schedule, and it's like, is there a schedule? How do I know? When will I
Yeah.
know? How are you going to tell me, baby?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
all
and I have
those minute
notebooks for everything.
details that you
Yeah.
just don't think about.
I had like little notebooks of left boob 10 minutes, right boob 10 minutes. Like, I think Joe thought I'd lost my mind, but just any way of trying to make me stay on top of things was, you know, anything to stop you going crackers.
No, and it is, and in such precious times in other ways, isn't it? Just adorable.
Yeah, it's so special, but some of it not so much.
Yeah. And I think that's it, that it is it's ups and downs, and like you just said, I'm not dismissing how some people can find it really challenging.
Oh yeah.
But things do pass, don't they, and things move on.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you don't, when people say, oh, enjoy every second, that's unrealistic. You're not going to enjoy every second, and don't feel guilty if you know you're desperate for a shower. That's okay. You're allowed to be, you know, wanting to go to the toilet on your own, or wanting to have a shower, or, you know, all that's okay. It doesn't mean you're a bad mum. It just means that you need a bit of alone time.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much. It's been brilliant, and then I just love these conversations. It just brings out so many great memories for people, ups and downs.
Absolutely.
So really appreciate your time, and thanks so much for contributing to the book, which is definitely moving forward now. So I appreciate
Awesome. Can't
it.
wait.
Oh, thank you, Emma. Thank you.
Thank you.